Okay, here we are on April the 11th in the year of our Lord 2026, and I've got a lot of great information for you tonight. So let's go ahead and get to it here. Let me click at Murtech on Rumble. Takes us over here to my Rumble channel, and this is the video that we're going over tonight, episode 1884. It says upcoming, but as you know, you are actually watching it, so let me go ahead and get into this. Hi, Debbie BS. Glad to see you could join us. Anybody else want to chat with me? I'd greatly appreciate it. Let me click the Show More button to expand out the description box, and we have information from Doug in Exile, Dr. Steve Turley, McWattersaffect, and Robert Gouveia. But before we get into that, I do have some shout outs to give. Uncloudy gave me a comment already. Preemptive thumbs up, number 3, for some good geopolitical news. Well, thank you very much, Uncloudy. I appreciate that. Jen6194 just started following my channel. Elgin Carp just started following my channel. MJ Phrase just started following my channel. So thank you very much, folks, for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. All right, Debbie BS reposted my episode 1883. Uncloudy and Debbie BS commented on my episode 1883. Uncloudy commented on my episode 1884, this episode right here. I just read his comment to you. Debbie BS commented on my extra 665C, 665D, and 665E. Now, if I was going numerically, that would have been 3 6s and an A, B, and C. But I'll go to 667 for my extras tomorrow because I just didn't want to put the 666 on one of my videos. So not that I'm superstitious or anything, but there are some people that probably wouldn't like it. Anyway, Debbie BS and Roy Neff7 commented on my extra 665E. So let me go ahead and give this a thumbs up. There we go. Let me jump up here and show you right there. There's a thumbs up. I've got 4 of them. Uncloudy's one of them. I'm sure Debbie BS is one of them. Let's see what she says here. Yep, number 4. Debbie BS was number 4. Okay, jump on in there, folks. Don't be bashful. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a comment and chat with me. That's, be a part of the program. Okay, Trump Supreme Court picks win as Sotomayor prepares for laws. I hate when that happens. No, I don't. Okay, let's check this out. Wait a minute. Oh, you know what? I put the link to his site here rather than the link to the video. So I'll just jump over here. And there we go.
I have a bunch of Supreme Court headlines to get you all caught up with the major cases going through there and some political controversy between the judges. Welcome to Doug in Exile. If you like the Supreme Court, you came to the right place. I've been following the Supreme Court for most of the last 25 years, all their major decisions. We're going to start with the flack. Sotomayor, Mike Davis. We have unprecedented use of Supreme Court's emergency docket because of the unprecedented judicial sabotage of the will of the American voters by Democrat activist judges. These judges are election deniers. I love that from Mike Johnson. Let's get to the article. Trump administration's volume of emergency docket appeals unprecedented, Sotomayor says. There she is, raising a tantrum, being political. Very sad, very false, but it's okay. We'll read her anyways. Washington, Associated Press. President Trump has notched a string of wins on the Supreme Court's emergency docket, in part because the conservative justices believe that blocking executive policies is a blow that can't be easily fixed. Justice Sonia Sotomayor said Thursday. The increase of emergency appeals by Trump administration is unprecedented in the court's history, she said in the speech at the University of Alabama School of Law. Here's where she's wrong. What's unprecedented is, of course, he had to run them up emergency to the Supreme Court. because a lower court blocked Trump's executive position that the voters voted for him on. Lower judges reversed him. Trump made an emergency appeal to the Supreme Court, and then he won those cases with unprecedented numbers. That's the explanation. They hope you're dumb. They hope you don't. They hope you just read the article, which is false, and don't watch this show, which just gave you the truth about the matter. Here's Alito. This is The Atlantic. What a bunch of New York snobs. How did Samuel Alito become this angry? He's angry. A quiet, bookish justice's personal leanings have become ever more evident. They declare he's angry. Maybe he just loves the law. Maybe he just loves the truth. Samuel Alito's inclinations have not been hard to discern lately. At the Supreme Court hearings on birthright citizenship earlier this month, legal experts identified him without hesitation as the justice likeliest to side with President Trump. And that's why they call him angry. What we're dealing with here is something that was basically unknown at the time of the 14th Amendment was adopted, meaning birthright citizenship, travel birthright, where Chinese women pregnant come over here, drop a baby, get their citizenship, then go home and get raised as little communists. Sam Alito isn't angry just because he agrees with Trump. And by the way, it's actually wrong even to phrase it that Alito agrees with Trump. Alito agrees with the intent of the founders who wrote the Constitution. That's his job. Trump also happens to agree. He's not agreeing with Trump. He and Trump agree with the Constitution in contradistinction to The Atlantic. Here's Axios, another liberal rag. Trump's latest tariffs face legal test under an undefined phrase. So now we're going to do tariffs. The nation's top trade court said on Friday that the legality of President Trump's latest tariffs comes down to one question: what counts as a balance of payments deficit? But no one had a satisfactory answer. Therefore, Trump was justified in making the challenge. Here's the Hill. Sotomayor says, this one's funny, AI is forecasting Supreme Court decisions as a bad thing, shows we're way too predictable. AI is calling some of their cases bad. AI is commenting on the Supreme Court. Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor on Thursday called artificial intelligence models that have found success in anticipating how the high court will rule in upcoming cases. She calls it a very bad thing. She's mad because they're so formulaic. She goes, it shows we're way too predictable, Sotomayor told students while speaking at the University of Alabama. Yeah, Sotomayor being the most predictable, the most likely to be guessed by AI, because they're going to be flaming left. How hard is it to predict? They're predictable. Here's more. This is from Slate magazine. One justice took surprise aim at Brett Kavanaugh. There may be a bigger strategy at play. Now, we've reported on this. I'll talk about this more in a later video today about that slam against Kavanaugh. But there's a bigger strategy. What's the strategy? Just like when Trump sat in on the Supreme Court with Pam Bondi 2 weeks ago, he was pressuring them, just saying, look, I'm looking. So why did Sotomayor slam Kavanaugh at a university speech that we talked about in another video? Sign up for Executive Dysfunction, a weekly newsletter. This is the one. Justice Sonia Sotomayor is taking direct aim at Kavanaugh stops the race-based detentions by immigration and customs enforcement and Customs and Border Protection that Justice Brett Kavanaugh and Supreme Court's conservative supermajority blessed last year. What is she doing? The same way that when they leaked the Roe v. Wade situation, guys, they're trying to get public outrage. Sotomayor is hitting Kavanaugh to try and get public outrage against him. She's probably hoping another trans person like the one that tried to attempted murder him, went to his house with duct tape, another wonderful trans, just like you and I, trans person. Here's more. This is Washington Post. The sharply conservative Supreme Court, reshaped by President Trump's 3 appointees, thank God, is the first since since at least the 1950s to reject civil rights claims in most cases involving women and minorities. That's the universe healing. The reason why the 3 new Supreme Court justices reject civil rights claims by women and minorities is because they have nothing to do with their civil rights. They're bringing outrageous, unfair, stupid, anti-man and anti-white cases, and those are not covered by civil rights. So you get reversed. This is according to an analysis conducted by the Post. Supreme Court is first since the 1950s to reject most civil rights claims involving women and minorities. Do you also know why? Because women and minorities no longer need the help of civil rights claims. They're doing so well that it appears to be things have equalized. More. We're going to go quick. I believe in just a massive boom, boom, boom Supreme Court update. Oh, this one's the funniest one. This is my favorite one of the day, guys. We're going to end on this one. Don't get angry yet, okay? Because I swear there's a part 2 to this that'll make it all even funnier. This is from Joshua Hall. 102,000 followers on Twitter. He claims to be a patriot and a freed political prisoner. Okay, here we go. Breaking. The Supreme Court Chief Justice Roberts and Justice Amy Coney Barrett were reportedly spotted in Washington, D.C., dining with the leaders and lawyers of prominent immigrant and civil rights organizations. Now, you're supposed to go, I knew it. They're hanging with the lawyers of civil rights and illegal immigrant organizations, including parties to the birthright citizenship case that is currently being argued before the high court. I could go on and on. I just want to hear you because they're trying to trigger you. You're supposed to go like Roberts, Rhino, Amy Coney Barrett, I knew it. And they're playing you for an idiot if you automatically think that. They're actively undermining Trump's agenda, sabotaging the agenda of the president and 80 million of us elected. It is seriously time for President Trump to start disobeying court orders because these radical left activists posing as judges have gone rogue and are engaging in illegal and treasonous acts. Treason! I'm supposed to put that on the thumbnail. John Roberts, treason! With no means of being held accountable. He has an army, they don't. Well, let's go down to the fact check down here with Grok. Readers added content they thought you might want to know. Are you ready for this? This poster is a known con artist convicted of wire fraud for impersonating Trump family members to scam donors. No credible sources report the Supreme Court justices Robert and Barrett dining with immigrant rights groups. Just so you know, guys, we're not. I just brought you some fake news, but I corrected it just to show you. The real news is a ton of people are lying to you, trying to trigger you. Roberts might be a rhino, but it's not because of that lie. And so it's important for us to call out lies, even if you agree with the conclusion. I don't want to win a fight on false facts. I want to win a fight on real facts. And that's why I think you can trust me as a news source. I'm Doug in Exile.
Thank you very much.
I have a
it together. All right, let's dive right in here, gang. We need to start with this smoking Truth Social post because it is pretty extraordinary. So yesterday, April 9th, President Trump fired off a 482-word statement calling out Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones by name publicly on his own platform. He didn't hedge. He didn't mince words. He didn't send signals through proxies. He said, and I'm quoting directly here, these people are, quote, nut jobs. These people are nut jobs who are trying to get, quote, free and cheap publicity, and they are emphatically not MAGA. I'll give you a little taste of what he wrote. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but here are just some highlights here. I know why Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones have all been fighting me for years, especially by the fact that they think it's wonderful for Iran, the #1 state sponsor of terror, to actually have a nuclear weapon. It's because they all have one thing in common: low IQs. I'm sorry. I just love how he sets it up. You think he's going to give some clear insight or whatever. It's like, yeah, they're just stupid. And he said, literally said, they're stupid people. See, I'm tracking with him. They're stupid people. They know it. Their families know it. Everyone else knows it. Look at their past. Look at their record. They don't have what it takes, and they never did. They've all been thrown off television, lost their shows, and aren't even invited on TV because nobody cares about them. They're nut jobs. They're troublemakers, and they'll say anything necessary for some free and cheap publicity. Now they think they get some clicks because they have third-rate podcasts, but nobody's talking about them, and their views are the opposite of MAGA. And he just goes on and on there, and he actually he highlighted this. This was interesting. Quote, Candace Owens, crazy Candace Owens, sorry, who accuses the highly respected First Lady of France of being a man when she's not, and will hopefully win lots of money in the ongoing lawsuit. Actually, to me, the First Lady of France is a far more beautiful woman than Candace. In fact, it's not even close. And then he takes on bankrupt Alex Jones, who says some of the dumbest things and lost his entire fortune, as he should have, for his horrendous attack on the families of the Sandy Hook shooting victims, ridiculously claiming it was a hoax. These so-called pundits and losers, and they always will be, they're always blah, blah, blah. And he finishes with, MAGA is about winning and strength in not allowing Iran to have nuclear weapons. MAGA is about making America great again. And these people have no idea how to do that. But I do, because the United States is now the hottest country anywhere in the world. So, as you can see, I mean, Trump took a flamethrower to, what should we call it? Should we call them the four horsemen of the podcast world? The podcopolists or whatever. So, why did he do this? Well, if you've been living under the rock, you need to know that all four of them, with varying degrees of intensity, are openly opposing this war with Iran. Now, that's fine, okay? The key here is that they're not just opposing the war. Again, that is fine. That would be fine. No one has to agree with everything Trump does. In fact, I was just looking back. I think it was right around this time last year when Trump was actually threatening to send missiles into Russia because they were getting nowhere in the peace deal negotiations with Ukraine. Trump was like, all right, maybe we need to send attack-M missiles deep inside Russia. I openly, some of you even were stunned that I did this video. I was actually in Vegas at the time, staying at the Trump hotel, International Hotel in Vegas at the time. It was really fast. Got to meet Nigel Farage, James Woods. It was really wonderful. But I did a video, and I openly stated that that would be the single biggest mistake of his presidency. And it would risk collapsing his entire coalition. Because no one, not a single human on the planet, voted for Trump in the hopes of starting a war with Russia. We voted for him actually to scale back on NATO's escalating confrontation with Russia. I got no problem with disagreements. But what we've been hearing from these four horsemen, these influencers, goes way beyond disagreement with Trump on policy or grand strategy. They're not analysts, right? They're not analyzing the situation. They have become absolutists. And that's a very, very important distinction to get here, because I'm going to show you how that moral absolutism actually fits into what's really going on here. This isn't merely policy disagreements that are being advocated by these four. they're engaging in something far more, I would argue, insidious. They're not saying, I think this is a strategic mistake. They're not saying, I've got real concerns about exit strategy. They're not saying, here's what I do differently. They're openly saying that Trump is evil in doing this. Disgusting and evil. They're saying his administration is satanic. They're saying that you, the people who continue to support Trump, which is 99% of MAGA, all the polls are showing it, you are complicit in this. You're complicit in genocide. What Trump is doing is disgusting and evil, and if you support it, what does that say about you? So what Trump is calling out here goes way beyond analysis. This isn't a policy dispute. This isn't a disagreement. This is nothing less than condemnation culture coming into right-wing sphere. This is moral grandstanding on steroids. And condemnation culture has a movement connected to it. That movement has a name, and you all know what that name is. When you have this radical absolutist denunciation of a man and his followers and his supporters, I hate to say it, but what is most associated with this broad brush absolutist moral denunciation? What is it? Put it in the put it in the chat. It's called wokeness. That's what it is. You'll note wokeness always begins with moral denunciation. Always. That's key. It's a key characteristic. Wokeness always begins with moral denunciation, and that's why you can't argue with those who are woke. And that's precisely because moral denunciation is not an argument. It's the end of an argument. It's the moment you stop trying to persuade, and now instead you start trying to destroy. It's not about dialogue. It's about denunciation and denigration. Again, the irony that I can't get past in all of this is that when you begin your assessment that an act is disgusting and evil, when you begin with well, I'm going to have to see. I'm going to have to see the information. I'm going to have to find out what the rationale is before I can comment. No, when you begin with this is disgusting and evil, when that's your opening salvo, that is exactly, and I mean exactly, the epistemological move that defines wokeness. You begin with moral denunciation. And then anyone who tries to argue are themselves tainted with what you're denouncing. So think about what wokeness, what woke ideology fundamentally is at its core. It's what philosophers call radical perspectivalism. Okay. Radical perspectivalism is the idea that truth is not something you discover through reason and evidence. Truth is something that's determined by virtue of your identity and who you identify with. Again, this is absolutely key. So in the world of radical perspectivalism, truth is determined by virtue of your race or your class or your status, your ethnicity, your gender. And the practical consequence of radical perspectivalism is that you actually never have to engage with someone's argument. You only have to identify their position, their identity, their allegiance, their tribe. And the moral verdict is already baked into that. So what are all these guys saying? Trump is fighting Israel's wars. Trump is doing the bidding of the Jewish lobby. Trump got conned by the neocons. You see, the moral denunciation is inextricably linked with how they identify Trump and with who they identify him with. This is exactly what the woke do. If you're a straight white male, your argument is already suspect. If you're a white cop, you're already guilty. You're morally compromised. And now, according to these four horsemen, if you're a Trump supporter in April of 2026, you're complicit in evil. You're complicit in genocide. You're a Zionist pig. The argument doesn't matter. The evidence doesn't matter. What's actually happening on the battlefield is irrelevant. Your position has already been declared. That's woke epistemology. And according to President Trump, that is precisely what Tucker and Candace and Megyn and Alex are all doing. They are all immersing themselves in wokeness now deployed from the right. The villain has changed, but the framework hasn't moved an inch. I mean, seriously, think about it. Tucker's called Trump evil. Candace has called him a genocidal lunatic. Megyn has called the war a folly and the ceasefire a surrender. Alex Jones has accused Trump repeatedly of betraying MAGA, going all in with the neocons. And then, as you saw, goes on live TV discussing how to 25th Amendment him. And what many are asking today is, how is this any different? Any different whatsoever from the lunacy you'll hear spewed from the likes of Ilhan Omar? How is what we're hearing from these so-called influencers any different from the absurdities that drivel from the lips of Ocasio-Cortez or Hakeem Jeffries? When Alex Jones and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are literally saying the same things about the same president on the same week, something's gone profoundly, structurally, epistemologically wrong. And President Trump, in his own unique way, just called it out. The four horsemen are suffering from the same cognitive and moral buffoonery that's infected the woke left. Now, again, I want to underscore something here. And if you've been following this channel for some time, if not, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. But if you've been following for this channel for some time, you'll know this is really the first time I've actually even made a video about this. And that's because when I'm about to reveal to you brings me no joy whatsoever. As far as Tucker and Candace and Megyn and Alex are concerned over the years, I have always appreciated them. Their commentary, their analysis, to the extent that they give it, their insights. I've learned from them. I've benefited from them. To be honest, of the four, I think Tucker is the one I've had the most affinity with in terms of his analysis. But I've always believed that the parallel media, right, the online independent content creator, alternative media, that first exploded on the scene in 2016 with the Drudge Report. That's when we were coming on the scene as well. I've always believed that it is best when there are many, many, many different voices giving many, many different insights and analytical angles. That's how.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause this here, but I'm going to include this in my daily news wrap-up. I mean, this is like a 2-hour video here. I'm 20 minutes into it. There's 2 hours and 4 minutes left. But I want to move on and give you some additional information. Let me click on the Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from Dr. Steve Turley. I'm sharing his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. Here, let me go ahead and save this to, I've already got it in there, my Mertech Daily News Update, so you'll be able to watch the rest of this if you want. So let's go ahead and jump back here. And we got Susie Poll 2016 and Debbie BS and SheB63. Join us in the chat. Okay, let me move on here with McWattersaffect. A Democrat caught banned Trump voters from internet for 4 years. Amazing. Yeah, I guess they don't like to hear the truth.
Well, accountability will come sooner or later. You can't hide from that. We are taking names. I'm creating my own lists of people that need to have oversight and accountability. It is so important right now that people understand that if you're in this administration and you're asked to violate the law, or violate your oath or turn your back on the Constitution, that you will be judged one way or another at some point or another. You cannot escape it forever. You can't hide behind a mask. You can't hide behind your desk. You can't hide behind your title. We will seek accountability.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. And today we're going to be talking about two stories, but we're making them into one because they're related. Now, as you saw in that first video, this guy from Colorado, he is a congressman from there. He's talking about going after members of the administration after they get out of office because of war crimes or stuff like that. And also, you have this woman that's out of Georgia who's running for political office, who's talking about going after the MAGA faithful, people that voted for Trump 3 times, not allowing them on any internet for 4 years, so that the country is run.
You have to really ask yourself, who's the authoritarian, the totalitarian here? Which side? Because the Democrats, we saw with Trump, they're actually willing to do lawfare on not just the ex-president, but alternate sets of electors. I mean, they were willing to go after just about anybody. So let's get into this and really break it down. We'd appreciate if you'd subscribe, like, and share.
When this is all over and Trump is gone and Democrats are back in charge and we're rebuilding everything, the punishment for MAGA for voting Trump 3 times needs to be that they lose their internet access for 4 years, that they cannot post videos or comments on social media for 4 straight years, so that none of us are subjected to their lies and misinformation while we are rebuilding the chaos that they caused. The whole world and America gets to be without their BS online for 4 straight years. Can we all agree to this?
Susana Caratassos, a candidate for Georgia State House, is vowing to punish all MAGA voters if Democrats win the upcoming midterm elections. And interestingly enough, she'd like to ban MAGA voters from internet access. Of course, it is just wildly ironic that Democrats drone on and on about how Trump is a dictator and a fascist and all of these horrible things when they seem to be taking that stance themselves, or at least Susana is. Thankfully, Susana's plan will never come to fruition, but it's still really disheartening to listen to someone who is running for public office speak about people on the other side of the political spectrum from her in this way.
So I asked AI, and there's a handful of governors who are pretty much asking everyone to keep records, pay attention. We want to prosecute Trump's team when they're gone. There are many other, lawyers, pundits, all kinds of people advocating for punishing you for your political beliefs. Okay, this is actually scary because these people are so misdirected. They can just heard her say is, I want to take away your ability for 4 years to tell the truth about things, not while we put everything back together, because Trump's economy everything will be humming when he leaves office. What she's really saying is, while we take apart everything that Trump has accomplished for the American people, we don't want to hear you complain.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I don't think this is much different than what we've seen in the past when it comes to when you have a new president that's from a different party. They normally try to sect and change things the other party and the other president did in order to fit their policies and what they want to do. And but the thing is, what is new is trying to actually put them in jail. That part is new. And that's fairly new. That happened, obviously after Trump's first administration. And is Trump trying to do this now with Biden's former administration? By what we've seen, no. Which some people are disappointed about. And the thing is, such as me and other people, but also the thing is, we know they'll do it more than likely. And they'll go after these people one way or other, whether they'll do investigations kind of like Arctic Frost, Russiagate, or whatever it might be, just in order to try to destroy the party. I think the point I'm trying to make is really at the end of it is this is the new way we're doing things in the United States, unfortunately, when it comes to the two-party system. And really, I think in the long run, you're going to see the two-party system turn into a 3 or 4-party system, because really that's what we have, to be quite honest with you. There's such drastic differences when it comes to way people perceive politics in the United States. And you got to have some kind of middle ground. And unfortunately, there's a huge middle between the Republicans and Democrats. And that middle ground would actually stop a lot of this stuff from happening, in my opinion.
Yeah, we don't have so much consensus. And the part that bothers me is when they charge you with a crime, whether they can convict you or not, it's like the process is the punishment. The normal guy can't afford to fight the federal government in court. It'll bankrupt him to stay free. And so we've seen they've charged, at least 100 people from 2020, probably more that I'm just not aware of, that were lawyers for Trump or were an alternate elector. And this is a real problem. Okay, I'm one of those people like you talked about that want to see Brennan, Comey, Clapper, Rosenstein, McCabe, a whole list of them just from Russiagate put in prison for what they've done. But I'm not advocating for people who didn't do anything wrong to be punished for their political ideas. That's the problem here. And that's the crazy of the left.
Well, the left is following Marxism, and that is find the man and find the crime instead of find the crime, then find the man. And that's where we're leading to. But guys, this is the end of the video. We hope y'all enjoyed. Please hit that like button, comment, share this out there, buddy.
I'll tell you what, these Democrats, amazing. They don't like to hear the truth, do they? As long as it goes against their narrative, as wild as it can be, men can be women, women can be men, men can, if they say that they feel like a woman that day, can go into the women's locker room, the girls' locker room. That's fine. Try to argue with them with using a little logic, common sense, a little science. Man, they don't want to hear the truth, that's for sure. Okay, let me click over here on the Rumble link and show you that this video does come from McWattersaffect. It's the video I shared with you. I'm giving it a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here and finish this up here with Robert Gouveia. Okay, Republicans backstab America with Amnesty Dignidad bill. Okay. Yeah, these are Republicans. I believe they're in the House of Representatives. So let's go ahead and take a listen to this. And he's going to share Dennis Michael Lynch, which incidentally, he doesn't post a lot on Rumble. He has some information on YouTube. I have a link to his channel in my video channels page, but he has some good stuff. I see a lot of people share his stuff on Facebook too. A lot of friends that I have on Facebook. But at any rate, let's go ahead and get into this.
Inspected, and it creates inspected and admitted loopholes, and it grants the Attorney General power to determine deportations for family hardships. So the community noters read the bill and apparently know better than she does.
Let's say he doesn't want to go do something else. Let's say he wants to stay in what his trade is.
Yeah.
Why
Then
do
he
I
is
have to, why
competing
do
with-
I
then
have to
he-
move the American guy, Maria?
Okay,
Why do I
fine.
have to-
Don't move him. Then have the owner,
The white
give
guy.
the owner the possibility of hiring Jose, who doesn't speak much English, and Joe, your friend.
How are they going to do that
allows-
without a job, Maria?
Oh, well, then, if they don't have a job,
Then what?
then they would have to go back home, or they would have to find a job and
They
not
go
go
get
back home. But
the
there will
benefits.
not be any chances.
Republicans plot an amnesty backstab. Maria Elvira Salazar, seen here, is now the author of the so-called Dignity Act. And we got the act pulled up right here, and there's a key phrase inside that we're going to learn a lot more about. It's called conditional basis. Inside the act fact, the Dignity Act is amnesty. But they're not going to write that in the act. They're not even going to talk about naturalization or allowing people to become U.S. citizens. They keep all those words out of there, and they do a very sneaky thing where they make you a lawful resident, then you become a lawful permanent resident, and then all of a sudden you become naturalized. But there's been a massive debate brewing on the interwebs. Congressman Brandon Gill, he said to Elvira, the Dignity Act that you are imposing is mass amnesty and would constitute a terrible betrayal of our voters. Read the bill before you open your mouth, and just goes nuts and just starts flipping out. She says calling the Dignity Act amnesty isn't just wrong, it's a deliberate distortion, and it exposes just how little you know about the bill. But she says this is enforcement first, okay? Zero tolerance for criminals, permanent border security, we know how often that works, and hard-earned requirements to step forward and face the law. So American workers are protected, not undercut, even though we're having amnesty for millions and millions of illegal aliens. She says amnesty is the chaos you've defended. So it's like George Orwell. They just reverse the language. No. We have amnesty right now. Millions in the shadows, no control, no accountability, in a system that stopped working a long time ago. No shortcuts, no giveaways, no blanket forgiveness. That's law and order. That's dignity. Here's what the community note says. Says actually it does grant amnesty here, Elvira. Permanent residency under the DREAM Act, deferred action and legal status, the Dignity program, and it halts deportations. It wipes 3 and 10-year bans. It creates inspected and admitted loopholes, and it grants the Attorney General power to determine deportations for family hardships. So the community noters read the bill and apparently know better than she does. So maybe she should shut her mouth until she reads the bill and understands what it means. And here's more on this, because Brandon Gill responded to this after she had her little meltdown, saying, Maria, your Dignidad Act would give legal status to over 10 million illegal aliens. What the hell is that? It's rank amnesty, and everyone knows it. Now, I want dignity for all Americans, the people whose interests we represent, not illegal aliens. That means doing what we'd said we'd do. It's called mass deportations, and that continued on all throughout the day. Now, Charlie Kirk, may he rest in peace, he called this out some time ago, July 21, 2025. He said, Maria Elvira just told you the entire game on her soft amnesty push. It's always bite-sized chunks. You get the foundation in place, and then you escalate it further from there. At some point in the future, another legislator will write another. Now, what we need to do is buy peace for these people and allow them to stay. Charlie said it's all a total ruse that will grind mass deportations to a halt. Do not fall for it. Here's Elvira explaining what her long-term strategy is in the Republican backstab.
We give them dignity. At some point in the future, another legislator will write another law to give them path to citizenship. Right now, what we need to do is to buy peace for these people, allow them to stay, to continue working because they are needed. You see, what I'm trying to do is to bring some common sense, which is the least common of all senses, to this conversation. The economy needs them. They do not have a criminal record. They have not gone into trouble. They have been here for a long time. They have roots in the country. Let them stay. Don't give them any type of federal programs and allow them to pay taxes, help the Social Security Fund, and let them stay and contribute with the economy with no criminal record. What is wrong with that? We need
total platitudes. And here's another thing she wrote. Okay, she talks in platitudes. It's really gross. Brandon, let's get something straight. I want dignity for Americans, and I put Americans first. She says Americans want criminals deported, so do I. The Dignity Act removes all criminal illegal aliens and recent arrivals. No, it doesn't. And it shuts down future illegal immigration once and for all. No, it doesn't. You can actually have chain migration as long as an illegal who's currently here and applied for the program says that their family, they face a hardship and they need to bring their family members in here. She says, but here's the truth. Most Americans do not support deporting every long-term immigrant who has spent years working here, contributing to our economy and have American kids and are a part of our communities. A full mass deportation of long-time contributing immigrants would hit Americans where it hurts. Higher costs, which is weird because if you have less people here, then you have less demand, which would mean that the supply is increase, which should lower costs. Less housing and construction, strained healthcare and senior care, because I guess only illegal aliens are building houses. Only illegal aliens are providing healthcare. Broken supply chain, major economic problems, and more. Raise the cost of living, lower the quality of life. So we need illegals to be here in order to continue to live. That's why people who actually keep this country running support the bill. Farmers, veterans, manufacturers, small businesses, doctors, pastors, and families, all just per perversion of the rules. Now, this is a one-time fix. This is America first. It costs us no money. It reduces the deficit, and it invests $70 billion into our workforce. It's a one-time fix. You can keep defending a broken system, or you can fund it. This is ultimately America first. And here's what continues on. Now, Heritage came out and said, Elvira, the Dignity Act is a mass amnesty bill. No amount of bureaucratic hoops will change that. And Charlie Kirk once again said there are a handful of Republicans in Congress pushing the so-called Dignity Act, which would shield illegals from deportation. Now, here's the trick. We do not know when many or perhaps most illegals came in, presumably over the last 4 years under Joe Biden. All they'd have to do is say the magic words and they'd be allowed to stay forever. At best, their case would be bogged down in courts. This is a ruse. Do not fall for it. This will grind Trump's mass deportations to a halt. This is worse than soft amnesty. This de facto ends the mass deportations that America literally just voted for. So she wants to undo all of that. Here's what happens. You apply for the program, and then you can obtain permanent resident status. Okay, so you come in as an illegal, you apply for the program. Now I'm going to be a permanent resident, or even a temporary resident who then matriculates into permanent resident status. Now, at the time that aliens obtain permanent resident status on a conditional basis, then the secretary shall provide notice to the alien about this title and say you have conditional basis moving forward. You may only revoke that conditional basis and that lawful status for certain things. If you meet certain requirements and more, you can't revoke it. So it's like one way. Once you get past the post, you're good. You get LPR, lawful permanent status. Now, then what happens is rather than granting amnesty, what you do is you remove the conditional basis. Okay, you're an LPR on certain conditions. And then once you've been here for a long time, you remove those conditions. And now you're just a lawful permanent resident who's not conditional anymore. Then the secretary, after these provisions are met, shall remove the conditional basis of the permanent resident status granted under the title. Then that lawful alien is lawfully admitted as a permanent resident. If you have not abandoned your residence, so if you've been in the United States, if you've gotten a degree from an institution of higher education, boom, no more conditions. If you have served in the military for at least 3 years, no conditions. If you demonstrate that you have earned income for periods totaling at least 4 years and at least 75% of the time, and you have valid employment, no conditions. Now, there's also a hardship exception. The secretary shall remove the conditional basis of an alien's permanent resident status and grant the alien status as an alien lawfully admitted for permanent residence if they're here with a hardship, if they satisfy the requirements and then demonstrate compelling circumstances for the inability to satisfy the other requirements. For example, if you're an alien that has a disability, no more conditions. Great, you're here permanently. If the alien is a full-time caregiver, just like in the Leering centers or just like in the hospice fraud, then you're no more conditions. And the removal of an alien from the United States, this also applies. If you remove this person, if it would result in hardship to the alien or to the alien spouse, parent, or child who is a national of the United States or lawfully admitted, can't remove them. Lawful permanent status. Then what you see is, except as provided in this other subsection, the conditional basis of an alien's permanent resident status granted under this title may not be removed, so that's permanent for them, unless they demonstrate certain requirements. And ultimately, an alien granted permanent resident status on a conditional basis shall be considered to have been admitted to the United States and be present in the United States as an alien lawfully admitted for permanent residence. This is under the section of naturalization. Okay, so right there, they say now you can go get naturalized. Naturalization means you become a United States citizen. All these people then get the votes and all of the other privileges that are sacred for Americans. Now, an alien may not apply for naturalization while the alien is in permanent resident status on a conditional basis. Okay, so you see how that all works. Can't apply while you're conditional, but there are certain provisions that remove the conditions, and then you can go and apply to be a naturalized U.S. citizen. So it is literally Amnesty. This guy did an amazing job on this. His name is Dennis Michael Lynch. He said the Dignity Act sucks. Okay, it's Amnesty. And Representative Elvira Salazar couldn't even answer even one question with certainty about this. This is how much these people have thought about it. How do we vet 17 million people? Can you answer? How do they afford to live if they pay taxes? Why can't they find jobs? Do they get free stuff? How do Americans compete with more foreign labor? What about housing competition? She's a deer in the headlight this whole time. This is an amazing video. You can follow it. We'll give it a reboost at the top of our timeline if you're watching over there. Otherwise, here is Dennis Michael Lynch getting into it with Elvira.
I want to know how it is and who it is that is going to process these background checks on 17 million people.
Homeland Security.
Oh.
Have you talked about how long does it take to process 17 million people when I've got, let's even just say 50,000 ICE agents specializing in nothing other than the Dignity Act?
Look, I cannot tell you specifically how DHS is going to manage this, but we give them 18 months to do it.
In 18 months, we cannot process 18 million people. That would be 33,000 people a day if we were working weekends and if every single person was getting a adequate check.
But you're concentrating on the administrative part, and then...
I'm concentrating on the background check. I am not going to be cool with giving somebody dignity when I don't know who that person is and why they're in my country.
Oh, no. I agree with you. But that's why I say no more than 5 years. You need to prove that you've been here for more than 5.
I still need to know who you are, though, Congresswoman.
Of course that I need you to know that you're a Pepe Perez or Rosa. Of course, I understand. Yes,
I just don't know.
You just don't know how.
I mean, fairness. Think about what 30,000 people is. 30,000 people is almost a football stadium. So now if I'm going to give these illegal aliens 15 million, 17 million, the ability
25.
to go get jobs that now they can compete legally against my kids. They're already competing illegally against them, but now they can compete on a legal end. Now they're going to be able to go get a house and get a mortgage. My kid's going to have an even harder time when he's competing against an extra 17 million people.
I'm going to turn that around. Those 17 million people, most of them are helping for the supply of housing to increase.
How come we don't have houses everywhere?
Taking 17 million people and giving them what really is legalization,
where's all the
even
housing?
Though they don't get to vote. You are now putting 17 million more people in competition for the limited amount of housing that we have. And even if they all start going to build houses, which is another issue in of itself, but even if they start to go do that, we still have 17 million new people going to compete for jobs that are getting tougher to do, especially with AI, and competing against buying a house. And so all that's going to do is going to take the American kid, and I call a kid a 20-year-old, 30-year-old, and it's going to put more pressure and stress on them.
I see it completely different.
So you explain this one to me. Let's say, for instance, the guy on the corner was charging $20 an hour, and Jose has been getting 10 under the rug. Under the table, he's getting $10.
Yeah.
Is that staying like that?
No, because then now Jose, because there's E-Verify mandatory, is going to pay whatever the marketplace, whatever the fair market value is. And then the guy standing on the court.
So now he's going to get raised to $20, and then what becomes the case is the guy who hired him in the beginning to get the cheap labor, now he doesn't have the cheap labor anymore. So now
that's correct. And he has two choices. Jose and the guy and your friend, the white guy standing at the corner. He has two choices now. But let's suppose that the white guy says, I'm not going to do this anymore because I have an opportunity to learn how to do, x-rays, or I can be, instead of outside in the roofing, I can be inside the office.
No, let's do it the other way. Let's say he doesn't want to go do something else. Let's say he wants to stay in what his trade is.
Yeah.
Why do I have to move the American guy, Maria?
Okay, fine. Don't move him. Then have the owner,
the white guy.
Give the owner the possibility of hiring Jose, who doesn't speak much English, and Joe, your friend.
Yeah, and Joe is a master carpenter, much more qualified. Now we've got Joe and Jose. And Jose's got everything against him because he doesn't have that one ticket anymore, which is cheap labor. So now when Jose can't find a job because the Joes of the world are coming back out and taking them when they're paying fair wage again, what are we doing with all of the Jose's who are now in my country draining my schools, my hospitals, my food, my housing? What are we doing?
They have to pay for their own health insurance. You know that the federal law
How are they going to do that without a job, Maria?
Oh, well, then, if they don't have a job, then they would have to go back home, or they would have to find a job and not go back home. But there will not be any chances.
Are you telling me if he doesn't have a job, the only service that he's going to get is if he has an emergency at the emergency room? No other services. He ain't getting food. He ain't getting vouchers. He's getting nothing.
Food from where? Food from where?
California.
Who's going to give him food?
An EBT card. He's not getting anything. I'm asking you.
Is that in the bill?
Food stamps. stamps,
services.
no federal
Zero.
programs available. No Medicare, no Medicaid, no Social Security, or food stamp.
Now I got Jose, who was poor to begin with, doesn't have any money saved. Jose doesn't have a job. He's lingering around for 30 days. And now what you're saying is, well,
He doesn't have a job.
we
then-
smoked him out. We smoked him
Well,
out. He's out.
If he just, but he has the dignity in him. He just needs to go find a job. He doesn't find a job. Well, fine. I mean, then I don't know. Jose,
Then he,
you have to
then
go
he
back
has
home.
to go home. He gets no other perk. Your math doesn't work for the sense that if you're going to now tell them they have to pay their taxes, they're
This lady here is a Democrat that ran on the Republican ticket. I mean, you know, that's all it is. She's a Democrat that ran on a Republican ticket. Now, granted, she's Mexican, but I mean, I know a lot of Mexicans and they're not stupid, okay? Like this person is.
automatically going to be lifted to a new salary. And now what's going to wind up happening is they're going to find the same problem that my kids got. I got to pay taxes, Dad. I got to pay this. I got to pay that. I can't find an apartment. Apartments are $3,000 a month for 2-bedroom shithole. I can't do it.
That's their responsibility, not mine. They could have.
She's their responsibility, not mine. Okay. I thought the people in Washington, D.C., the representatives and senators were supposed to be working for us, trying to find a way to make things more affordable for us. That's their responsibility, not mine. I'm a representative. I've got everything taken care of for me. That's their responsibility.
2 jobs or 3 jobs. That's the average American person problem.
Great, everyone has 3 jobs
Maria,
now.
And what winds up happening now is you are legalizing these people to work to go into more competition against American workers.
Shout out.
Okay, there you have it. There's like 3 seconds left on this video. Let me go ahead and hit the Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Robert Gouveia. It's a video I shared with you. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, folks, there we have it. There we have it. Good information. No nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. That's what I'm pushing here. Okay, please share this out. Please give me a thumbs up. Please follow my channel if you haven't done so already. I would greatly appreciate it. All right, I got 36 people watching here. That's great. That's great. I wonder if that's because it's on a weekend that we're getting this great turnout here. But at any rate, let me remind you that these videos that I shared with you are videos that come directly from the producer's channel. Okay, I've updated the link here to Doug in Exile, so when you click on that, it'll actually take you to that video.
I have a bunch of Supreme Court.
Okay, so I was able to do that while the video was playing. That's one of the things that I like about Rumble Studio is, I've done live streams before, but it's dedicated to whatever's on the screen is what you're going to see. So I couldn't, go into the background and do some things behind the scene like I can with Rumble Studio. I know sometimes it has some issues, but I think some of the benefits of Rumble Studio actually outweighs, when it has some of the issues. Because even just doing the dedicated live stream with the dedicated screen that I used to do about 1.5 years ago, actually, that had some problems with not being flowing as well as it should. But at any rate, getting back to this. All right, these videos that I share with you here are videos that come directly from the producer's channel. I've got the links to the videos here in the description box, as well as the links to the channel of those producers. So you can see if there's more information that you'd like to see from them. Also, these videos that I've shared with you are videos that I've posted here on Murtech.com. Right here's the video from Dr. Steve Turley. Here's the video from Doug in Exile. Right down here's a video from Robert Gouveia. All this info. I've got over 40 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos. The kind of information that actually you're not going to get from the mainstream media. Okay? I'd like to share all these videos with you, but unfortunately I don't have the time to do so. I've got about 24 hours worth of information here. But I do have my daily news wrap-up that I will share with you here in probably about 15 or 20 minutes. Information from McWattersaffect, the Y-Files, Internet Horrors, Clip Chan, Locals 58, and the Plague Doctor. Sounds like some interesting information here. Also, Black Conservative Perspective, Benny Johnson, Andrew Brian Logan, the Liberty Sentinel with Alex Newman, Dr. Steve Turley. There's the video that I played the first 20 minutes of, and there's like 2 hours. We the People News says I have some X22 report in here as well. Says I have 20 videos in here, and probably about 9 or 10 hours worth of great information. So go ahead and take a break right now. Grab a cup of coffee and a donut, or a sandwich and a soft drink or a beer, or maybe even a nice glass of wine and some cheese, and meet me back here in about 15 or 20 minutes, and we'll give me a chance to get this set up in Rumble Studio, and we'll get this going for you. But in the meantime, I do want to thank you for being here. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.